for the representatives that are with us here this morning, and perhaps just worth running through who we have with us here today. The Democratic Alliance, represented by Chantel King, PAC Sandla Kotwana, ACDP is represented by Luke Kuse, ANC Tola Pagati, COPE Siabulela Simani, AIC has Vusmuzi Tutu, EFF Tumani Matiwane, and the UDM being represented by Anele Scotty. And let me just run through some of the comments coming through from those who are watching this morning. This one from Put South Africans First says, please ask one, how to deal with Izinyoka, the cable theft and drainage systems. 2, squatter camps are spreading, taking every vacant piece of land in East London. And 3, why they let clubs and taverns be erected next to schools and residences in the CBD, Southernwood and Quigney. Thank you. That's one comment. Another one says, with regard to the issue of sewer spills and water pipes that burst due to aging infrastructure, what activities has the current BCM Municipality Council done to address this? How will other political parties address the issue of aging infrastructure and the problems that come with it as well? Kanya says here in NU17, Ward 22, refuse bags were delivered. For the past 4 years, we've been paying 400 Rand without receiving refuse bags. Mandy Archery says a debate will be useful if you don't have the smaller parties on board. We want to hear what the smaller parties have to offer, though. Sick and tired of the bigger parties playing the same game over and over. Then Manuba says, can you ask them how much has been spent so far on the East London Esplanade, that Esplanade under construction? How much have you spent on that project, and how far are they with the estimated cash flow projections for this, and how much in terms of percentage of progress has been achieved so far? And it comes back to a question that I had asked about projects that are budgeted for and completed. So, Mr. Mayor, let's start with that one.
Well, the challenge of cable theft is a big challenge throughout the city, but it is not a Buffalo City phenomenon. It's a challenge that we are facing as the city. We do have a response team in terms of our law enforcement agency, as and when that arises. So we have a dedicated team dealing with these matters, but also rating the scrap metal dealers who are fitting into this, because these are copper wires that are being stolen and copper pipes. The challenge of land invasion, you know, Sakina, there are political parties in the council that are encouraging land invasion. And this is a challenge because it tempers with our spatial development framework. Sometimes people would invade land that is meant for development. And in the process, they delay the process of development. So it's a challenge that we have. Now, on the issue of clubs and taverns, many of these clubs and taverns that are being referred to are illegal, and that we are working with the liquor board to deal with such as and when they arise. The issue of the aging infrastructure, I think we have had a thorough discussion on the matter. The infrastructure here is very old. We have a responsibility to maintain the existing infrastructure while we roll out new infrastructure. So those are the issues that we are assist with. On the issue of the Esplanade development, we are now at 80% again in terms of the completion. We hope that by March next year, that project will be finished.
How far did you say?
We are at 80% now.
80%?
We are targeting March for the completion of the project.
How much was budgeted for this project?
That's the beachfront. It is a it's a 10 million project.
10 million?
Yes.
80% complete?
Yes.
How much have you paid so far?
Well, because this is work in progress, I wouldn't have that information.
But you should.
Yeah.
You should know how much has been spent.
Well, I don't have it off the cuff.
So it's very curious, Mr. Mayor, if you know that 80% of the work is complete, but you don't know how much has been spent as yet. Is it more than 10 million? Less than 10 million at this stage?
Well, we have not been informed as council if there is a need for the escalation of the price. So we remain within what we have budgeted for.
Informed by who?
The Buffalo City Metro Development Agency runs with the project. So they report to council on all the projects that they are undertaking.
So who's responsible for oversight on that project?
We are responsible for the oversight as council.
So you should know.
We know that we've put aside 10 million for the project and we're at 80% completion.
And how much has been spent?
So far we do not know because we don't deal with the vouchers.
Do you think that speaks to good governance, Mr.
I beg
Mayor?
your pardon?
Do you think that speaks to good governance practices?
Well, the report is submitted to council. Unfortunately, I do not have it with me for the purpose of this meeting.
Okay. No, it's not fair enough, because if you know that you have completed the project to a certain extent, then I would imagine that you are au fait with what is going on in that project, given that you can specifically say that 80% has been completed. Therefore, you would know how much you have spent to complete the 80%.
No.
I'm not talking about invoices. I'm talking about top-line issues.
No. It's true.
Mr.
We are
Mayor?
not. Council is not dealing with the invoice. Council is not dealing with the invoice. So those matters are dealt with at an administrative
I'm not
level.
talking about invoices, Mr. Mayor.
How are we supposed
You should
to
know
know?
as
How are we
council
supposed-
how much you have budgeted, how much you have paid to date for said project. We're not talking about the nitty-gritties even.
The report on the expenditure of the project will go to council and council will debate. But as of now, we are still within the 10 million that we have put aside.
Okay, so there's your answer, Manguba. We don't know how much has been spent to date. We only know it's 80% complete. It should be completed in March, but we don't know how much has been spent of that 10 million to date. And then you spoke about parties encouraging people to actually invade land and therefore bedeviling some of the services that you're trying to provide. Who exactly are you talking about?
The EFF.
Okay, EFF?
The caller raised.
Just one sec. We didn't hear that.
No, I'm saying I want to talk about the issue of Izinyoka and squatter camps in the city.
Okay,
You know-
start with the accusation.
Yes, I'm
and then you go
addressing
to
the
that.
accusation. The land invasion, we do not call it land invasion. It is land occupation, because you cannot invade something that belongs to you. The land belongs to natives of this country. And now for the mayor to say that the EFF is encouraging land invasion, yes, we are saying that people must occupy land, because as the result, the problem that we have in the metro of the 154 informal settlements, it's as a result of the ANC not addressing the spatial divide that was built, that was there during apartheid. Now people want to come closer to job opportunities and economic opportunities which are close to town. So that's why you have informal settlements that are popping up throughout the city. Now, as the EFF, we are saying that formalize informal settlements, incorporate informal settlements into town planning so that you can install electricity in those informal settlements. Sakina, in 2018, the municipality had a target of electrifying 1,300 households, or informal households. It did a lousy 38. Every year, it underperforms. The metro fails to electrify even 5% of the target that it set itself. And people have because of the desperation that people face, They are forced to do illegal things because the municipality is not coming to the party. And we are saying that as the EFF, there should be innovative ways of other energy sources that can be used, such as installing solar panels, where it is difficult, because in some informal settlements you might find that it is difficult because of the density. You know, East London, Sakina, has an above average population density, where you have more than 1,000 people per square kilometer, which is 3 times the normal average of South Africa. So in some informal settlements, it might be difficult to install electricity. So you must have innovative ways, other alternative sources, so that people can be.
The intentions aside, do you agree that that further exacerbates the problem?
Pardon, Sakina?
Would you agree that that exacerbates an already existing problem?
Which one, Sakina?
Where people are crying over services, and when people invade land and therefore require further services to be delivered in these areas, as you say, 154 informal settlements, and sometimes in areas that are not quite suitable for occupation anyway. Do you agree that that exacerbates an already existing problem?
Yes, I agree, Sakina, but that is a consequence of the ANC's RDP policy, where it takes too long. We have people who have been on a waiting list for 20 years to receive houses. Now, what do you suggest those people do? They have no other option but to build homes for themselves. Now, if the metro is failing to build houses, because the ANC has concentrated on the provision of housing, where you must also give access to land, give service sites to people so that they can build on their own, ease the building codes and regulations so that people can use low-cost materials and remove the red tape that is around building regulations in the city.
All right, let me read a few more messages. Black Ball Pen says, fair enough in terms of the explanations he's hearing here, but when will we be recompensated for the overbilling mistakes? And this one is from The Show Goes On, who says, I once saw a municipal employee reading a water meter sitting inside his car. And when I asked him, he said, this is the process. So that billing issue comes up very often. This one from Tranquility. Tranquility asks, are we ever going to see the completion of the Mdantsane swimming pool? We want young kids in the township to compete in the Olympics. And a few others as well. The process of electing councillors should change. When it changes, it opens up for more qualified and capable people. You're asking councillors in Buffalo municipality if they know how much is paid to suspended managers, and all political party reps didn't know how much, including the mayor. That's from a retired comrade. So people raising quite a few issues. Duncan Village says, the Bolshevik says the Duncan Village housing project is in motion. There's a process currently underway to relocate the residents of Duncan Village to a temporary site in Mdantsane so that the informal settlement area can be cleared before building can take place. What the beneficiaries are currently located. Not sure what that last sentence meant to say. And then this one from Tala, who says, Sakina, please ask the mayor, where's the money for the infrastructure project, which was supposed to be a Zwelicha mall in Zwelicha near King Williamstown, Eyabantu Mall. What happened to that particular project? So I'm going to speak to the mayor quickly, and then I'll come to the other councillors as well.
Thank you, Sakina. I want to correct one thing here. We have spent 630 million on electricity provision. We have electrified 3,200 formal dwellings. We have electrified 2,629 informal settlements or informal dwellings in the city. I felt I should correct that. The issue of individual billing issues can be addressed with our finance directorate. We have at some point suspended our credit policy so that we can allow people to come to the municipality to sort out their billing issues. The Mtanzane swimming pool is going to be handed over to the community in the next coming week. We are now in the process of completing that. That's a state-of-the-art infrastructure that we're building in the township. The issue of Dangan Village, Sakina, the President of the Republic, President Ramaphosa, came here in 2018 and visited the people of Dangan Village. After his visit, he then gave an undertaking that Dangan Village needs to be de-densified. We are now seized with the task of de-densification of Dangan Village in line with the program that was suggested by President Ramaphosa. Our approach is two-pronged. We are removing people to formal houses at Ristin. As we speak currently, the contractor is on site. And also we are moving people to temporary residential units in NU1 in Tanzania so that we can then begin the process of building houses. Again, there, the contractor is on site. We are building decanting areas for people to stay there while the construction of their housing units is taking place. So the process of de-densification of Dangan Village is an ongoing program. And our people in the temporary residential areas are quite happy to be there because also they have all the necessary infrastructure in those facilities. Lastly, the issue of the mall, the municipality does not build malls. Thank you.
The municipality does not build malls, but obviously there were some projects underway, which is why the residents are asking you about it. So is there any enlightenment that you can put on that particular matter? Because the municipality will be involved in one way or another.
Our involvement there would be on the issues of application for land. And we have not received any of such.
So let's come to the other parties to get your input with regard to the issues that are being raised. Sewer spills, billing issues, and of course roads, which come up all over the country. But let's stick to Buffalo City.
In Buffalo City, we've actually raised to the council, actually to the Minister's Department, with the waste management system and strategies that they have in place. They've actually gave us an outdated system where we actually had to tell them that some of these stations, treatment plants don't even exist anymore, yet they were planning for them, and we had to make them aware of that, which they then had to quickly stop before it was even approved in council. So those are the things that the mayor is not even talking about, that they don't even know what is working in his own city. We only have one place where people can dispose of their garbage, which is the Berlin site. And our trucks, refuse trucks, have to drive up to 80 kilometers just to get there in order to dispose of the refuse.
Okay.
Hence, yeah.
Is that true, Mr. Mayor?
Certainly not. We have an integrated waste management plan as the city.
Okay, which part are you responding to?
I'm responding to this thing that she says trucks are moving 80 kilometers to a landfill site. That is not true. Round Hill site is 20 kilometers from here. So that is not true.
Sakina, ask the mayor how many of these landfill sites are licensed. We only have the Berlin site that is licensed. He knows well that there's an issue with the licensing, and that's why we find that Second Creek dumping site was closed because they had to be rehabilitated. They've abandoned that site. It cannot be rehabilitated for housing to be developed on that site. That was the plan in 2014. It still hasn't happened. Then also when it comes to the Izinyoka, it is a problem like he said.
Let the mayor respond to the first part first. She's saying it's not true. You only have one licensed site, landfill site.
No, the issue that I was contesting is the distance that he said. It was 80 kilometers. We have landfill site in Round Hill, which is a regional landfill site and is licensed. And it is operating within the National Environmental Management Act prescripts.
So the two of you are disagreeing on this.
I'm definitely disagreeing with him because he knows very well that is the issues we've always been pushing with the licensing of our landfill sites.
The point you made previously about planning around pump stations, was it pump stations?
it was the landfill sites that I was talking about that was closed down, which they still had on their system to budget for.
So there were landfill sites that were budgeted for that had already been closed. So the mayor is saying it's not true.
But it's true.
Okay. Let's bring in, sorry, please complete your point before I go to the PSC.
Our main problem here is our law enforcement are understaffed. That's why you would find Izinyoka. But what the city has not done in most of these cases was to ensure that we put in LED lights. Only now that they've put up HIMARS systems with LED lights, after consistently where we encourage them to do so in order to avoid the Izinyokas from taking over. That is why we see also the mushrooming of taverns, because there's no will from the law enforcement to ensure that they monitor the system of these taverns nearby schools, nearby churches. We've seen mushrooming of churches going up right here in the CBD, which they also said that they have no control over because they do not have proper law enforcement officers in place to man all these areas. So that is where we need to look at how are we going to keep our people secure, how are we going to stem out the causes that are creating this crime and be tough on the causes of the crime.
So the policies are in place, you are unable to implement and enforce the bylaws in the city is what you're saying?
Yes, and we've taken them on that. We've actually done oversight on our own capacity in the various the municipalities, the departments to go oversee how is it working. And then you would find that officials are so scared to talk to us that eventually they would send us emails on the issues that is going on in the city. And the major problem here that they always come back to, Chantel, there is political interference, and hence our hands are tied as officials, because damned if you do and damned if you don't when it comes to the issues in Buffalo City because of the factions that we have. We even had to do our own testing. We actually showed them a report that we had our own money taken out to do testing on the First Creek River, which actually goes into the areas, into rivers, and it pollutes our areas. Nothing has come of it. Ask them how many times have our areas been tested to make sure that the water quality is fine. Just recently in my own house, the water was so filthy we couldn't even drink it. We had to buy water. And I don't even stay in an area where you can say affluent. I stay in the area of Parkside, which is where people are constantly complaining. The area of C.C. Lloyd Township, every day the water is on and off, on and off. And these are issues that we escalate, but yet it is also where you phone the department's WhatsApp numbers, you phone all these, you contact them. It doesn't exist. Yesterday it already states the lighting issue of designer lights. Designer lights could assist us with our street lamps and all of that. But at the end of the day, they did not even manage to set up a proper contract. I know designer lights contract expired after twice having the contract, which is by law right. But what the department has not done was to plan in advance. How are we going to fill these contracts? We had a waste contract that also expired with a private tender for trucks. They even said it on their website on Facebook, and then they reneged to say, no, hold on, the trucks are back on, it was not a contract issue. So what is it? The contracts have expired or the contracts here? Because we've always been left in the dark by the poor management and poor planning of the Buffalo City. I mean, just up the road from us in Nelson Mandela Bay, we can see things are starting to move, it's working, we have fixed so many stuff. And yet, you come to Buffalo City, the next metro, and it's a contrast from what you see there to what you see here and then ANC Metro.
Let's give it to the PAC. And just also in terms of what people are talking about, some of the informal settlements, Mr. Mayor, people are disputing the roads issue with you and basically saying some of these roads that you mentioned not happening. This one says, can you please ask the Mayor about the Cove Rock land that has been neglected, yet it has a tar road, it has electricity, pavement, etc. Why are they not developing? That land is now used as a dumping site and prostitution. Does he know anything about that anyway? And a few others also coming through. Landile from Muvango Informal Settlement says, I would like to find out from the Mayor, when will he respond to our memorandum that was delivered on the 11th of June 2021? And then some others as well. This one from Alec says, Sakina, being a pensioner, I admire the questions being put to the corrupt morons. Most of the responses is a disgrace, totally unacceptable, and this is about people wanting answers from their elected representatives. And so many others coming through as well. A lot around the informal settlements and what's happening there. PAC?
Thank you, Sakina. Sakina, I think Chantel initially disagreed with me when I said the system has collapsed. It just needs to be declared at some point in time. That is the fact. And when you listen to all the issues which are correct, we know, stating the state of the municipality at this moment. Those are the issues which are actually happening in the municipality at the moment. Now, these issues, it's not that it's issues that are starting now. For instance, let me talk on this issue of informal settlement. You are saying in your statement, there is an influx of people into urban areas, particularly the Buffalo City, because it is the economic hub next to PE in the Eastern Cape. Now, this issue, it's not something which is starting yesterday. It's a continuous process. How do we deal with it? We cannot keep on complaining that people coming and get into the informal settlements, because these people do not simply get out of their homes. They are in here seeking for employment. As the municipality, we're supposed to be planning in terms of how do we mitigate this matter, because it's not going to stop.
So I'm curious to know, what were your discussions in council around this particular matter and how to mitigate?
Look, Sakina, perhaps let me come up straight. I'm not a councillor. Yes, I'm not a councillor in the Buffalo City.
Okay, even if you're not a councillor, what has the PAC's position been that you would have taken to council with regard to this particular matter?
Yes. Look, Sakina, as I'm saying to you now, our view as an organization is that this is a problem that we are dealing with. Eastern Cape has 72% people living below poverty line. And obviously those people are going to be looking for a job.
But you're not responding to the question of what the council is doing. What is the position to mitigate this influx of people into the metro?
Looks like the influx into the metro, in fact, the influx into areas which are not actually designated for people to stay, it's something that needs to be dealt with in this fashion. You look at areas which are actually in the space of the metro, which are in a convenient positions to assist poor people to be able to get next to the metro. Because you'll find out these people are actually people who are working in shops and they need accommodation. Now, for them to stay far, it's a problem. The amount that they get as salaries, it gets finished in terms of transport.
I'm not hearing the plan, though. What is the plan? Because, as you said, this is not a new problem, spot on. So if it's not a new problem, if it's an ongoing issue, how is this metro, how is this province mitigating for that?
Sakina, I'm not sure that whether you're listening to me correctly. I'm saying to you, if you have a situation of that particular nature, and now I'm forced to speak on the base on the matter.
No. I'm asking, what is the PAC's plan?
Oh, good.
What is your plan?
Let me come straight to you on that one. One, Sakina, the issue, the province in all municipalities and even in departments, they have enough resources in terms of the budget to deal with that population. But the problem which becomes an issue is that the money which is going through tenders and it ends up in corruption, it's huge to the extent that government is unable to produce employment for people. For us, take out tenders, employ people permanently on those particular jobs. That's where you are going to start to have a solution to the question of these people who are unable to afford employment.
Well, I suppose it's a plan. It doesn't have to be ideal, but if I can go to the ACDP on that same question, Because what is happening is when the council fails to deal with this, when the council fails to plan adequately for an influx of people, what you ultimately end up doing is setting communities up to basically fight with one another, because then you will have those in the formal setups in those areas saying that those who are coming in are basically eroding at whatever services they are supposed to get. One, you spoke of the Izinyoka problem because people are collecting themselves to the grid illegally and all sorts of other issues. So therefore, you should have a proper plan in place to deal with that, because you are now also creating another issue of social cohesion problems because you're failing to deal with something that you should have dealt with, given that it's an ongoing problem. What is the ACDP's plan?
Thank you, Sakina. Let me first say this is a symptom of a bigger problem. Movement of people from areas that do not have economic activity to towns. Now, the municipality has to be proactive in dealing with that, because if you allow people to stay, they acquire rights. If they are there for some time, they acquire rights. You can't just remove them. So the issue of law enforcement, it's very, very important. Also, even if they are there, it's important that you provide services, like, for instance, electricity, because if you don't do that, they are going to steal electricity. The challenge that we have in the municipality, the electricity department was the one that was bringing a lot of revenue for the municipality. Now is the opposite, because most of the people in informal settlements are using Izinyoka to get electricity. So it's a problem which is not uniquely Buffalo City, but our point is that we need to be proactive to deal with the matter quickly, as quickly as possible. Well, you
haven't, because it's been more than 10 years, so you still don't have a plan. So there's nothing proactive about dealing with the issue here.
Well, you know, one of the problems is the issue of other spheres of government, because if national and provincial government are failing to develop real development, you'll always have those instances, and it becomes a moving target. You build houses, and the new people come. It's a problem that the cities deal with.
Plans are scant on the floor. But let me speak to the billing issue and electricity, because this one is coming up hotly. By the way, you guys are trending, but it's coming up very hotly. The issue of electricity prices in Buffalo City Metro. People are complaining, saying that these are some of the highest prices in the province. So why are the prices so high? Let me ask Cope. I'll come to the mayor. Let me first find out from the other parties what their views are on this.
Thanks, Sakina. I think the problem with the billing system, if I may start with that, start with these meter readers that the listeners were complaining about, where meter readers were thumbsucking the actual reading of the water that is being used for that particular month, then which results to someone's account being billed abnormally. Now, then you have Izinyoka, which are not only done by informal settlement. Even those who are living in formal settlement, they are doing izinyoka, simply because of this billing system that is not right.
Let me understand this a little clearer. So billing system, one issue. Then there's the issue of the cost that residents have to pay for electricity. So how is the provisioning done? Is it council procuring directly from Eskom and then selling on to the residents in the city? So why is the cost so high? Because your residents are saying it is exorbitant.
I'm coming to that. I think the reason why the bill is too high is that because of the high rate of illegal connections. Now the municipality is billing the people to recover that money, which is those who are paying electricity directly, who are not doing izinyoka, are suffering simply because of this izinyoka.
But I guess what I'm asking, Mr. Simani, let me ask it more directly. What is the markup in terms of electricity prices in Buffalo City municipality? What is the municipality's markup?
I think that question could be answered by the mayor.
Yeah, I want the mayor to answer it, but you cannot sit here and say that you are representing people and you don't know what is going on in the metro. That is derelict on your part.
You know, the problem is that we do ask these questions.
No, you shouldn't ask the question. You should know, because there's a specific price. You should know at what rate the municipality is procuring electricity from Eskom and what markup they are putting on. Because I'm even scared to ask the next question in terms of revenue generation in the city, in terms of how exactly the city has marked up other services, because you simply don't know. So how do you represent people in that way? How do you say that this is a fair markup and can explain to residents of BCM why that markup is fair? Because at this rate, when residents say that they are paying exorbitantly high rates for electricity, if you don't even know what the markup is, how can you even have an opinion on the matter?
Is us explaining the failures of the narrative.
No, this is not a narrative. I'm asking you about pricing.
No, Sakina, I'm speaking in general, not specifically on this issue, and also it talks to this particular issue. All I'm saying is, you want us to agree as organization on how things are done.
No, I didn't ask you to agree on anything.
You do not want us to say that this is how we view things, because it is not the question which it starts now. We have a completely different approach. For instance,
I'm not sure what you're talking about, Mr. Kokwana, because
from the side of the
I have not asked you to veer from your view. Okay. My last question to you was about the PAC's plan. I asked you about your party's plan, nothing else. And that's what I asked you about. When I ask you, and I think this is a good opportunity also for viewers and residents of Buffalo City Municipality who perhaps don't often have an opportunity to interact with their elected representatives. I'm not asking you for a view. I'm asking you a straightforward question. This municipality procures electricity from Eskom, after which it puts on a markup and sells on to the consumer. Is it an unfair question? Let me ask you, AIC, is that an unfair question? Okay, I just want to know, EFF, is that an unfair question?
Yes, again, it's not an unfair question.
Thank you. Yes. UDM, is it unfair?
It's not unfair. Sure.
ANC, is that an unfair question?
It's not an unfair question.
ACDP, is that question unfair?
No.
DA? Cope? So, why is that question unfair, PAC?
Can you allow me to respond on it fully so that you understand what I'm saying? From the side of the PAC, we disagree with the question of people buying electricity from the municipality. We want people to buy electricity directly from Eskom. Now you want us to explain why Buffalo City is on up. And now it's time for elections. We are presenting what we think should happen, and people should vote.
No, Mr. Gokwana, I
that's my
never
point.
asked you to veer from your standpoint. You have every right to make the point that you've just made, which
Yes.
is that you want residents to procure directly from Eskom. But that does not negate the question of, do you know what the markup is that you are currently charging residents of the Buffalo City municipality?
No, I agree with you, Sakina, on that. But my point was that allow us also to speak what we think should happen outside in terms of what is currently happening.
Yeah, nobody has stopped you, Mr. Gokwana. Nobody has stopped you.
Well, that's fine.
Mr. Matiwane?
The question of the price of electricity in Buffalo City,
Sorry, the question of?
the high price of electricity in
Yes.
the city. As Sakina, you would understand that we are a rural metro. And some people are of the opinion that the decision to turn Buffalo City into a metro was rushed because of the rural areas that are surrounding the urban areas in Buffalo City. Now the municipality for the past 5 years has been asking for above inflation increases from NERSA, which have put a strain on the people of the city, where you have high levels of unemployment and poverty, where people are unable to pay for that electricity. Sakina, in Buffalo City, 100 rands. If you have 100 rands in Buffalo City, you will get 33 units out of that 100 rand that you are paying electricity for. To further escalate that, the Buffalo City has implemented a credit control policy during the pandemic, where people are being, there's a partial block, where people's electricity is being blocked because of outstanding amounts, whereas people have lost jobs. So we are saying that suspend the increases, put a moratorium on the increases, so that when the economy recovers, that is when you are going to increase the price of electricity, because it does not make sense when people are losing jobs, when the economy is stagnant, but the municipality continues to ask for electricity increases from NERSA. As the EFF, we have dissented when the budget was adopted. For the 3 past budget, the EFF has dissented on asking NERSA to increase electricity on an average of 10% annually, which is a huge problem for our people. Because now if you have 100 rand, you get only 33 units. It's not going to even last you 2 weeks or a week. Then you are back to square one with no power.
All right. All the same. Maybe, Mr. Mayor, you can help us. What's the markup here? Because your residents are complaining about their electricity tariffs.
Look, Sakina, we are not very expensive, but also not very cheap. But what I want to say is that we have been incurring losses on the electricity as a business. We are incurring 19.3% losses. But what I want to correct is the fact that what is being said here presupposes that we simply wake up and decide on the increases. The issue here is that the electricity prices is regulated by the National Energy Regulator, which is NERSA. NERSA decides, no matter how much do we apply for, but NERSA sets the standard in terms of how much should we increase. We don't decide.
Okay.
And we are within the NERSA stipulation in terms of the increase of electricity.
So what is the markup? Because that does not absolve you from answering that question. There is still a rate at which you purchase from Eskom and at which you sell to the consumer in Buffalo City.
Well, the markup is not more than 2%.
2%?
No, it's not.
Okay.
The markup is 14.29% above the inflation rate. That's how much we are paying. Yes, that's how much we are paying for electricity in this metro. It is the highest in the Eastern Cape. which is also one of the deterrents why investors do not want to stay in this metro, because of the high above inflation rate tariffs on electricity. What we then also sit with in Buffalo City, besides the high inflation tariffs that we have, we also have a system where, like I said, the billing queries are not being handled. We then sit on a day-to-day basis with over 500 queries that we try to assist residents with. We actually have 2 councillors dedicated in the DA only to sort out the billing queries of residents that come to us on a daily basis. And then you would find, like the mayor said, that they have to write off some of these electricity costs because consumers can currently not afford to pay the high prices that we currently offer them at this stage. Hence, we then said we need to re-look at the billing system. Point number 1, we sit with a budget that was illegally passed. We did not even have a simple majority in this council to pass that budget. They only relied on people that was present, and it was such a few, whereas it was stipulated that you must have in council a 2/3 majority, which we did not even have. So let's start there.
Okay, let's start there, Mr. Mayor. Please respond. Is it true?
No, what she is responding to as an increase, as a markup of 4.5%, is an increase proposed by NERSA. It is not a markup. That is where the confusion is. So she is not telling the truth insofar as the markup is concerned. That is not true. The increase that was proposed by NERSA is 4.5%, and we are implementing it as such.
I don't think we're going to get an answer because it's as simple as saying, so we actually buy 1 kilowatt of electricity at 10 Rand from Eskom and we sell it at 12 Rand 50 or whatever, but clearly we're not going to get to the bottom of that. But we're now talking to the issue of budgets. Are you suggesting that when you say the budget was passed illegally, what do you mean by that?
Well, Sakina, the day the budget was passed, councillors were online as they do hybrid. Then what happened was most of the ANC councillors were not even present in that meeting. And they pushed this budget through, which did not even hold muster for it to go through. We've raised the issue with the Auditor General. We've raised the issue with the MEC of COCTA in this regard to alert him that we are working on a budget that didn't even have the required amount of people of a 2/3 majority to pass. That is correct. That is correct. That's why it is currently...
Okay, I'll give you a chance to respond. Let her just conclude the point. I'll give you an opportunity to respond.
That's why it is currently the Auditor General also that's going to come to this municipality to say, we have an irregularity on the budget. We will have material findings again regarding the budget. And then we have the issue of the billing that...
Okay, let's answer to the budget, sorry.
No, Chantal is not a councillor in Buffalo City. And how does she know that the meeting did not correct? Because she was not there on the day in which the budget was approved.
So who are councillors here? EFF, Mr. Matiwane, did the meeting correct?
Yeah, passed illegal budgets for 3 consecutive years. 2019, 2020, 2021. Opposition parties, the EFF and the DA have dissented. In 2019, there was no public consultation for the budget where you go to communities to give their what priorities. 2020, the same thing. 2021, there was no quorum, but the budget was passed through. So what Chantal is saying is true.
Sakina,
the budget here was passed illegally.
The ANC here has a majority in council. You don't need opposition, but if they decide to dissent from a debate on the budget, we proceed because we have the quorum on our own.
Okay, That's a position. We unfortunately are running out of time, so we're going to have to start wrapping up. And I want to give each and every one of you an opportunity, at least a minute, to actually make your closing remarks so that you can state your plans as well, and why you believe that you should be voted for in the next election. So stiff competition, the numbers are high. But let me start at the end there with the UDM.
Oh, thank you, Sakina. Tina apa kulo Municipal Buffalo City. That's why singenga abahlali balapha eBuffalo City to vote for UDM, because of the system ANC has failed communities zethu. They were not close to our people. That's why Tina City we're putting our people first. Ngalo ndlela sithi sizokwavula amathuba emisebenzi ngokuthi sivule umzekelo i4 Jackson eza industrial zones zase4 Jackson sithi mazibe ku-operation ever since 2017 okuyapasiswa la until to date azikazenzeki loo nto leyo, amathuba emisebenzi awakho. Sithi abantu mabazi bazovotela i-UDM ngomhla wokuqala. Thank you.
EFF?
As the EFF are saying that we want a developmental local government where local government does not become a conveyor belt for service delivery. And our plans are to encourage local economic development through localized plans to identify and expropriate land for purposes of agriculture and settlement, for localized massive industrialization in rural economies, and maximization of resources at a municipal level to create jobs, concrete infrastructure plans to eradicate backlogs and encourage investment, and building self-reliant municipalities by abolishing the tender system, which we feel is an impediment to service delivery. We are saying as the EFF, land and jobs manje, land and jobs nangoku, land and jobs now. On the 1st of November, South Africans must go out and vote for the EFF, because these 27 wasted years of ANC misgovernance have not brought us anything.
AIC?
CAIC sithi amandla asebantwini. Uma abantu besivotela CAIC siyathembisa ukuthi sizaw lemeko ikhoyo eMzantsi Afrika whereas ilantuka ANC irulisha iminyaka engaka but is failing. Abantu bethu ithi freedom charter yabo, people shall share, people shall govern. Xa ndijonga upresident ngexesha becampaign ndimbone etsiba izinyoka ku-informal settlement e-TV, tsiba izinyoka ebezile kuminyaka engaphambili ezocampaign is coming back, upresident utsiba izinyoka. I-ANC nesystem iyabafeyila abantu bethu. CAIC uma nisivotela bantu bakuthi sizawusebenzisana nani, sizawuva kuni, sizawuva ngani ukuthi nifuna ntoni enkosi.
Okay. Cope?
Okay. Thanks, Sakina. As Cope was saying to Buffalo City resident, 25 years is wasted. They have voted the ANC for quite a long time. It's time for change. Nothing can happen if they continue to vote for the ANC. We're asking them to give us a chance to be their voice, to fight what is due to them in the council, and make sure that come 2026, they will see that the real government has taken place in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. ANC?
We call upon our people to go out to vote for the African National Congress on the 1st of November for reasons that were put forward, that we continue with the provision of basic services to the people as we have done in the last 5 years. The people of Buffalo City know that today is better than yesterday. For us to be able to continue providing services, we need their support. Thank you.
Thank you. AICDP?
Thank you, Sakina. We would like to encourage people to vote for ACDP because central to thriving and viable municipality, there is an issue of highly skilled, competent, and ethical leadership, of which the ACDP will provide that. We'll make sure that We'll make sure that business is made easier. You don't take time when you apply, for instance, for rezoning. We'll make Buffalo City more attractive, not only for investors also, but for highly skilled personnel. The last point will make our communities safe.
Thank you. PAC?
PAC in general, not only in Buffalo City, are saying Municipal must be able to create jobs and increase them on what we have. That is going to be done by abolishing of tenders, because tenders are only benefiting few individuals and it's a source of corruption. And doing away with them, it's one way of doing away with corruption. We're saying that people must buy electricity directly from Eskom. We view electricity as an essential service. You cannot have municipality generating funds or fundraising through the question of electricity. We want to prioritize the infrastructure, investing on infrastructure. Infrastructure will talk on sewage, roads, and maintenance of dams and those other things. But we want to make it as a priority, because our intention is to make sure that all these particular services are actually provided. Because the reason why water is not there is because of the ailing in infrastructure. We're saying people must go out in numbers and vote against corruption on the 1st of November, because voting for ANC is actually condoning corruption. It's only them who are on the commission accusing each other. So people must stop actually voting against the ANC.
DA?
Sakina, on Monday, guys.
DA, please.
On Monday, what we've done as the DA in Buffalo City, we set up our own manifesto. And the reason why we've set up a manifesto for Buffalo City, because we are ready to govern this metro. We are ready to govern it because we want to ensure that we get this municipality working again for the benefit and food service delivery for the people, of all people in Buffalo City. Just getting the basics right will mean we will attract more investment into the city. We will be able to assist SMMEs, and we will be able to ensure that we decrease the expanded unemployment rate, which stands at 53% in the Eastern Cape, unlike in the Western Cape, where it's 29.1%. So what we have 7 priorities that we will be looking at. The first thing is getting the basics right, to make sure that we've got an effective and efficient municipality. Then we want to ensure that we're creating an enabling environment to attract investment into the city, to lower the unemployment rate. We need to make an assessment of our critical infrastructure maintenance and our development. We need to make sure that we ensure that the health, safety, and security of our residents are taken care of.
Unfortunately, that is your time. So you're going to have to put the rest of that up elsewhere. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, viewers this morning. This is the situation in Buffalo City Metro. And of course, if we look at the statistics, this metro in 2011, only 56.51% of eligible voters in this metro went to vote, even fewer in 2016 at 55.93, I should say, percent of voters went to vote. It stands to be seen how many people will actually vote on November the 1st, whether it's going to be fewer, whether it's going to be more, whether it's going to be change, whether it's going to be more of the same. This is where we have to leave it as SABC News and Morning Live. Thanks so much for being with us. Take care. We'll see you again on Monday.